While I turn on the computer, I should have set it up earlier. Let me send to you greetings from my church. I come from Wellspring Baptist Sanctuary in Petaling Jaya. It's a small, obscure little church, but I enjoy being with a big church like yours as well. Your warmth, your fellowship, and your eagerness and enthusiasm for the Lord encourages me, and I enjoy worshiping together with you. I really want to thank you for inviting me to share the Word of God with you, and also share with you my journey of faith in the marketplace. Be in the world, but not of the world. Is that possible? I just heard recently, somebody told me that this CEO of a big multinational corporation resigned, and he sold everything he has and became a monk. I guess he finds that he doesn't want to be tainted by the world. Being in the world, he can't help it to be tainted by the world. So he decided to get out of the world. He finds that to be in the world and yet not of the world is impossible. And of course, not very few people take that kind of drastic action. But most of us somehow compartmentalize our life. On Sundays, we really live out to be in the world, but in the world, especially in the world of Christian circle, and not really of the world. But on Monday to Saturday, we are back into the so-called real secular world. And we are just like every other non-Christian. We compromise. We also practice the ways of the world. What is in the ways of the world? All that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life, these are not of the Father, of the world. But we all also chasing at the same kind of goal and values and practices. So we compromise. We living in the world, we become part of the world. And on Sundays, we became good Christians. So is it really possible to be in the world, but yet not of the world? This idea actually was mooted by Jesus himself when he prayed for the disciples. In John 17, verse 11, Jesus prayed to the Father in heaven, and he prayed, I will remain in the world no longer. At the point when he prayed this, he was about to be arrested and charged and crucified. So he knows his time on earth is short. So he said, he prayed, I will remain in the world no longer. Very soon I'll be going back to the Father. But these disciples that you give me, these followers of mine, they are still in the world. And he continued to pray. In verse 15, he said, my prayer is not that you take them out of the world. In other words, he is not asking the CEOs or the business people, you all get out of the world. Then it's easy to be clean. He said he is not praying like that. His prayer is not that you take all his disciples out of the world, But actually, they are not of the world, even as I am not of it. Jesus, being God, he became human, fully man. He was in the world, walked on the same planet Earth as you and me. But he was not of the world. He remained sinless. And he prayed for his disciples that they would not be of the world, just even as he is not of the world. And he not only prayed for his disciples, in verse 20, my prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their messages. In other words, Jesus is also praying for his disciples, that they, although are in the world, but that they would not be of the world. It's Jesus' desire that we, even as we live in this world, would not be of the world. Since he prayed for his disciples, by extension, we are being prayed by Jesus Christ before he left the world. And of course, theologians like to use big words. Robert Webber, American theologian, in his book, The Secular Saints, The Role of the Christian in the Secular World, he called this the incarnational model. Christ incarnate, God being man, live on earth, yet not of the world. The challenge is, how can we apply this incarnational model in life as we live on this earth? But being a business person, we look at it in the perspective of a business person. How many of you are business person here? Quite a good number. How many of you are working? Yeah. So how can we apply? Of course, I mean, in various spheres of life, how can we apply the incarnational principles in business, in particular for the industry that I am in, the construction industry? And let me share with you my journey, more of a testimony of how I apply this incarnational principle. 25 years ago, when I first started the business, my vision was to glorify God in and through business. Glorifying God is a very big word. And it's also very general. What do you mean by glorifying God? There are so many ways of glorifying God. So I try to narrow it down a little bit. From Matthew 5:16, it says, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Your good deeds, but not glorifying you and me, but glorifying our Father in heaven. What are these good deeds? Most of the time we think in terms of charity, helping the poor and needy. That's very important, because poor and needy, the way I read the Bible, has a very special place in God's heart. And that is very important. That's very good. But as I think about me as an engineer in the construction industry, how can I shine? In fact, in the construction industry, it's so dark. The light is very needful. In the church, there are so many lights. One light absent doesn't matter. But in the dark, corrupted world out there, they need the light and they need the salt. We need to break out from the four walls of the church into the marketplace to shine there, because that's where most needful. Jesus says he came not to save the righteous, but to those who need, the sinful ones who need salvation. So, I translate that in my practice of running my business, not to get involved in corrupt practices. So we have this integrity pledge, which we printed on all the staffs who carry a name card. At the back of the name card, it says, "We pledge to conduct business with integrity. We shall not get involved in any corrupt practices." Now, this looks very nice as a slogan you hang on the wall in the offices, in your website, in your corporate brochure. But the real test is in the eating of the pudding. When the test comes, will you buckle or not? Will you compromise or not? When my friends heard that I want to do this, they said, "Sure, die lah you, construction industry." How are you going to survive? And that was a very critical issue to survive, especially in the first few years. But by God's wonderful grace, abundant grace, His reckless grace, we did survive. And for many years, we survived in obscurity. Hardly anybody hear about us. And they find the name of the company also very hard to pronounce. Nehemiah or something. And of course, some will ask me, "Nehemiah Lee." So every time I explain, first I struggle to explain the name. Secondly, explain the business. So in the end, at first my name card at the back, there's a picture of the wall that I built. This is my business, easier to explain. No? Then, after about 16 years in obscurity, somehow the news started to leak up. The press seemed to be interested. Maybe around some time later, that's when Pastor James read the article, appeared in the press. And all of the question they usually like to ask is, "How did you do it?" It's impossible. Even at the forum, there was one engineering forum, we talk about engineering, technical things. The chairman, by the way, he asked me, "Hey, I heard you don't bribe one, How do you do it?" Not related to the topic of the forum, in front of about 500 engineers, and majority of them, about 50% of them are Muslims. I said, "You want a long answer or a short answer?" At that time, at the forum, of course, I gave him a short answer. The short answer is that, because God helps me. I cannot do it. It's impossible. Just like Joseph. When Pharaoh called him to interpret the dream, Pharaoh says, "I heard that you can interpret dreams." If you read Genesis 41:16, Joseph says, "I cannot do it, but God will reveal the answer to you." I cannot do it, but God can, because for nothing is impossible with God. When Mary was told by the angel that she's going to carry a baby, Mary says, "How can I? I'm a virgin. How can I give birth to a baby?" Angel told him, "With God, nothing is impossible. Even a virgin can give birth to a baby." So, how can we practice integrity in the marketplace? Actually, you know how Malaysia, how corrupted it is, right? but the construction industry probably one of the most rampant because a lot of money changing hands, big projects. When there's big projects, there's big money, we get tempted. Romans 12:2 says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Very critical is your mind. Do we have the mind of Christ? We want to grow deeper in order to soar higher. We need, among many other things, to acquire the mind of Christ. And that's why we need to immerse in the Word of God. Get deeply rooted in the Word of God. I read Pastor James casting the vision in the video. Our fruitfulness is the result of our rootedness. We want to soar higher, we need to go deeper. Just like a golfer also. You have to hit down in order for the ball to go up. Correct or not? But that's how the golf club are designed. You try to hit it up, you scoop it. You hit down, the ball will go up. So, but the pressure to conform is tremendous. The temptation to give in is tremendous. So, share with you some of the pressure we face in running our business. In our projects, very often we need approval from the authorities, either the JKR, highway authorities, or the bosses in some municipalities. JB may have JB's municipality. If you want to build a flyover in Johor Bahru, you need the approval because they are the ultimate client. You need approval of JB authority. So similarly in KL. And for a number of years, every time I'm a subcontractor, we are lowest on the food chain. We have the client, the consultant, the main contractor, then only come to us, the subcontractor. So every time we submit our proposal or to the main contractor has to submit to the authority to get approval. And for several years, every time you reach the desk of this decision maker, he will reject it. And one day he called my manager to see him. And he told my manager, you go and tell your boss. In other words, ask my manager to tell me, I don't like your wall. I try to think, what kind of message is that? How can I make him like my wall so that every time he will get approved? Because he's been rejected so many times. If he says that your wall technically not so sound, your concrete strength not quite good enough, your design calculation something wrong, I can rectify them. But if he say, I don't like your wall, how can I change him? He is basically telling me, I can make him like my wall. You just need a little bit of this. We also lost project. Often we need to walk away. And for example, this consultant, he called me one day. I am keen to specify your wall in my drawing, tender document, everything. And then when the project is being tendered, I will guarantee that you get the job. But I need some marketing fees. all kind of euphemism being used, and we know what he means. Basically, if I promise that when I get the project, which he promised to ensure I get it, he need a certain percentage as a marketing fee. I said, I'm afraid I cannot. You look at the back of my name card, I cannot do it. A lot of people think that is just a marketing thing. No, they don't think that we mean it. Like when Pastor James heard about it, said, is it for real? So we politely turned him down, but we never heard of that project again. That's how we lost projects. And even when we get projects, there are still obstacles. I'm not saying every job is like that. Thankfully, in Malaysia, there are still some clean people. Even when we get projects, during the execution time, there is this powerful person called the resident engineer. He is based on the site. He will make sure all the subcontractor, supplier, supply the material that conform to specification. That is his job. To conform specification, to make sure the client eventually got the thing that is what they paid for. That's the right thing to do. But in this case, he set a very high standard for us, far beyond the normal requirement. Normally, our concrete panel, a little bit technical, if you don't mind, our concrete panel need curing to gain sufficient strength. You have to soak it with water. And the normal requirement, 24 hours is sufficient to reach the required strength. Then after that, we can demold. Like baking cake, you can demold it, take out the cake. So you take out the panel, and then the mold can be used again for the next day. So every day we cast new panel. He says that I require 72 hours instead of 24 hours. That means every 3 days only we can change a new cast. In other words, our productivity dropped to 1/3. Why is he doing that? If we pay him something, he can revert the standard to the normal standard. And actually, it's cheaper to pay him. It's maybe about 1,000 ringgit a month throughout the project. It's cheaper to pay him, actually. Because if we don't pay him, our productivity drops to 1/3. Actually, it's more costly. The loss of productivity is more costly. And we also get delay in our project. And every day delay, there's penalty. So that is the other challenge that we face, even when you projects. And even assuming you execute it, we need to get payment. Every month we submit claims. And the QS is a quantity surveyor. Those of you in the construction industry will understand better. Anybody in the construction industry? Yeah. You need the QS to certify your claim before you can submit to the finance department to get your money. We submit, nothing happened. How come the cert has not come out yet to the finance department? We chase him. 1 month later, 2 months later, then they say, oh, I cannot find your claim. So we have to resubmit. We resubmit. This time we make sure he signed, receive it. Still nothing happened. Because in Cantonese, you submit your claim, put some money there to grease his palm a bit, then everything goes smoother. So we got delayed. And our cash flow is very tight. All business people know cash flow is critical. It's the lifeblood of the missus. So he cha you lah. He cha you there. Where he can cha, he cha lah. And that's how they get their money. With this kind of obstacle, how do you survive? By the grace of God. Really, we need to be dependent on the grace of God. It's like a thorn in the flesh. It's like Paul complaining, asking God, God, please take away my thorns. But God says, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. And I share with you the wonderful grace of God. Some of the good news. For example, this authority, he disliked my wall. He said he don't like my wall. And for several years, you will find that KL don't have flyover using my Nehemiah wall. Then one fine day, we submit again for a project within the city. And this main contractor liked our price. Because actually our price become quite competitive. There is a cost to corruption. Our competitor who bribe, they have to mark up their price to factor in the cost. Otherwise, we have to have money to pay people. So because we don't need to pay, that's the advantage. Huh? Integrity actually is an asset, long-term wise. Yeah. Because we don't have to pay the cost of corruption. Our normal submission is just a normal price. The main contractor, hey, very competitive, without negotiating very much, he want to give me the job. I said, but by the way, you need to get the approval. He said, don't worry about it, I will take care. And he did. We got approval and we completed this job. How he do it? I didn't ask him. I think in all likelihood, he called him the decision maker who doesn't like my wall. Yeah. So of course, when I share this story with some friends, they said, like that also you compromise. You outsource your integrity. You outsource your corruption. Cannot win. I mean, I can only do up to this point. That's why I draw the line. Between me and him, the main contractor is clean. Between main contractor and the decision maker, is outside my control. I did not pay him to pay the guy. Okay, there's a difference. If I say, okay, I pay you to pay the guy, then actually I am outsourcing the dirty work to somebody else to do. God also provided cash flow. I told you about how critical cash flow is because some people want to charge us. This project is in Langkawi. We recently had a company trip there and I brought my staff, all these are my staff, to go and see the wall and tell them this story. That is, I think, about 15 years ago, quite long ago. At that time, we are very tight with cash flow. And this project, our competitor don't want to do because this main contractor is new guy in the town, unproven track record, don't know whether can perform, don't know whether can pay or not. We hungry for projects, we just jump in and take the job. And it turned out to be a very good job. Firstly, our competitor ran away. We don't have to press our price too low. Our margin is pretty good. And this guy turned out to be one of the best paymasters. Every month, he promised 30 days, he pays us on the dot. So, a project that our competitor ran away, we went in. Like fools dare to tread, and yet God protected us. It's another job, also help to provide the cash flow that we need. This is a project in Damansara Damai. After we submitted our bid, our quotation, and the main contractor called us usually for a tender interview, and the most important thing in tender interview to squeeze your price. So he said, hey, your price is too high. Can you go back, recalculate your costing, and resubmit and give me a good discount? Since we needed the job, we also need the cash flow. So we cut to the bone as far as we can. We give him a very good discount. So we went back to see him and say, this is our discount. He looked at the discount, and usually I thought he was going to say, not good enough. Go back and calculate some more, reduce some more price. Instead, he said, you have given me too much discount. Take back some. Unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah, that's the only time it happens. At the time where I needed it a lot. I thought I heard wrongly, Huh? I thought he said, go and get me some more discount. He said, no, you have given me too much discount. Take back some. I asked him, hey, I've never experienced it before. Why? Why you ask me to take back some discount? I think it's worth about $40,000, $50,000. I mean, to us, it's a lot. Especially at that time, we are pretty small. He said, you are my brother in Christ. I said, hey, I never tell you I'm a Christian. What? How do you know? He said, how can I not know that you are a Christian? Your company name is Nehemiah. He read his Bible. Your name also Nehemiah. And you built Nehemiah wall. Of course you must be a Christian. We become quite good friends. And that's how God provided the cash flow. I like the eagle for some very good reason. I read about how eagle flies, and it says that when there's a storm, the winds are very strong. The eagle uses the strength of the wind to soar even higher. And if you look carefully at this picture, I recently only noticed it. This picture at the feet there's something. Fish, that's right. Fish, I presume to this bird is food, right? And in business, we want Cantonese. I learned a lot of Cantonese in KL. I'm a Hokkien. Whenever I speak Cantonese, I say, hey, speak Hokkien. Because my Cantonese sounds like Hokkien. So, this picture, let me experience what share with you what I've gone through, then you understand why I appreciate the eagle so much. It provided the projects that we need, the survival, the cash flow that we need. It helped us to ride through the storm of Asia financial storm. At that time, a lot of business is not doing well. We managed to lock in a few projects. And because there are so few projects in the market, the supplier of the machinery, the supplier of raw materials, steel bar and concrete, they lower their price. So we lock in at this price, our cost actually lower because suppliers give us a cheaper price. So at that bad time, actually our margin improves. And that's how God helped us to ride through the storm of the Asia financial crisis in 1998. And God did it again. in 2008. And that is a bigger storm. The subprime from America. We know when America sneezes, we catch the cold. Yeah. So this global financial crisis, many companies went bust. And just before the financial crisis broke through, we secure a project. Normally, our project size is about few 100,000, 500,000, 1 million, 2 million. If we get a contract 5 million, hallelujah, a big job. This project that we get, 60 million. It lasts us for a few years. And that crisis lasted a few years. God is good. Yeah. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. So, when there's crisis, it's not necessarily a bad news. In fact, how you respond to the crisis will reflect your spirituality. If there's a crisis and you take shortcut, you succumb to pressure or temptation, you give in and you do just like everyone else do, then you're no different from anybody else in the world. But if you respond in faith, put your hope in the Lord, then you really experience the reality of God. We were tested by floods. It's in Johor. Can anybody recognize? That's right. Why they call Kota Tinggi? Huh? It should be... Those days was Tinggi. Should be called Kota Rendah, right? Yeah. That is in December 2006. Very major flood. The rain came down, the flood came up, and Nehemiah wall came tumbling down. And when that happened, it's a disaster for engineers. You build a wall, collapse one. Who dare to use your wall again? We submit a claim to insurance. They get an adjuster. Adjuster engaged a forensic consultant. He do a very superficial job and say that, we did not do a good job. Our workmanship is no good. That's why our wall collapsed. We disagree with him. We engage our own consultant, quite well-known, established consultant. And our consultant said that we have done everything right, according to engineering sound principle. The foundation was strong piles, but actually the foundation still gave way. Because the flood was so severe, the water pressure was so strong, and according to rainfall record, it's 1 in 100-year floods. It's like a disaster like that. And that's why the pile gave way and the wall collapsed. So we're entitled to claim. And in insurance terms, they call it an act of God. I don't like the term. But that's what insurance says. You can claim based on act of God. So now there's 2 report. One not favorable one, one favorable one. And we are under a lot of pressure. Every day delay, I think the penalty is something like 2,000 ringgit. And then also the client, they want to claim loss of profit on us if we are found to be the one that causing the failure. And the loss of profit is a lot more. In fact, this trip, I want to go and visit that one. But I think we don't have time. To cut the long story short, the client themselves at their own cost, we had pressure to also Gautim the adjuster. My subcon wanted me to do so because then everything solved. We get paid for the claim insurance, and since the forensic consultant, if he Gautim, he give us a good report, we also don't have to suffer the delay because there's a delay now. And the loss of use, loss of profit by the client. So the client himself engaged another consultant. Since there's two conflicting reports, and they want to ensure that the wall that we rebuilt is strong. And this third consultant agrees with our consultant's report. As such, we are vindicated. So this is a job where we build the wall twice and get paid twice. It's like VO, 100% VO. So we make money twice. Isaiah 43 says, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. Jehovah Jireh, our provider, will carry you through. And that's my experience. And the greater the challenge, the more abundant is His grace. I'd like to take this chance to share with you about the incubator. The incubator is not a spelling error. It's a combination of two words. Entrepreneurship incubator. A few years ago, some multinational want to buy over my company. Quite attractive price, I must say. I was quite tempted to sell it off and then get out of this dirty business. And then maybe got more time with my grandchildren, can do some more ministry. But I have to consult God, because this is God's company. And God said, no. Your business is your ministry. And not only you want to continue the business, He wants me to expand, to enlarge the tent, Isaiah 54. And this incubator is also part of the enlarging the tent, to multiply biblical entrepreneurs, to build kingdom businesses, that they come about transformation. So let me play this video to share with you about this. When God asked me to enlarge my tent, I tried to figure out how to do that. One is to enlarge the size of my company so that I have a bigger say, I have a larger influence. The other one is to multiply biblical entrepreneurs so that they are out there in the marketplace to bring about transformation in the marketplace, from a culture of corruption to a culture of integrity. Which is why I started this ecosystem that will help to nurture, produce and multiply biblical entrepreneurs. So while I started a few businesses, together with 7 of us, we also started another it's a social enterprise. And this ecosystem has 5 components. First one is a business school, whereby we will train entrepreneurs with biblical values and principles. A 9-month program of business school is not sufficient. They only learn theory.
when they start the business or when they are running the business, they will hit roadblocks. So they need a coach or need people to come alongside to journey with them to help them to grow. So we have this CEO 3 roundtable, which is a coaching component, the second component. But this roundtable is chaired by a very experienced coach who is very experienced in business and in coaching. The third component is we call the angel. These are angel investors. Because new startup especially, or even existing business want to grow to the next level, they short of fund. Like all the problem I had when I started the business. I don't know about business, I got nobody to talk to, I need funding, I got nobody to help me. So this angel investor, we are lining up a panel of high net worth Christians to match them with businesses, new startups by these biblical entrepreneurs. The fourth component is we call it the cradle. It's a co-working space. New startups, sometimes they don't even have an address, don't even have an office. We give them a working space, pay $300 a month or so. They can have a place to have an address, they have Wi-Fi, they have computer, they have a small discussion room, they have a conference room. And the fifth component is entrepreneur network. So all the entrepreneurs can come, have a meal together, have some drinks together, listen to a subject expert, and network, get to know each other. Maybe my business need your business to collaborate, or you can share a story, or where are you now, where am I now, how can we help each other. So they become friends. So all these 5 components, they help reinforce each other. And with this ecosystem, hopefully they are able to succeed in business for the kingdom, to build kingdom businesses.
Actually, your church supports us quite well. I can see 2 graduates of our first batch of Emmaus Business School, Evin and Chris, isn't it? Yeah. This is Evin's testimony after she attended the Emmaus Business School. She has a business called the Tree House, where learning is fun. EB as Emmaus Business School has helped me see business from God's perspective through live testimonies from experienced Christian businessmen standing for what is pleasing to God. This is Kok Yan. Although Emmaus Business School is designed for aspiring young entrepreneurs, as a senior, he's 57 years old, participant, I find the program and learning environment very relevant to what I'm pursuing in creating a sustaining publishing business. Jolene says, I would definitely recommend this business course to my friends. This practice of this incarnational model, I can summarize it in 3 strategies. Business people like to use the word strategies. So I just summarized it as 3 strategies that we have applied. First, need to be obedient to the salt and light mandate. Secondly, resist the pressure or the temptation to conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And thirdly, utter dependence on Jehovah Jireh, our provider. His grace is sufficient for us. And you want to go in depth in your engagement with the business world as a Christian. This book by Bishop Hua Yong. I highly recommend. It's entitled Bribery and Corruption. This video will show you the practice of incarnational model for the last 25 years. We are still in the work progress.
My name is Nehemiah Lee. I am the founder of this company together with the co-founder Eugene Ho. We started as a specialist in supply, design and construct retaining wall. And in this specialized market, in Malaysia now we are the market leader. And that is something unusual because we have overtaken a multinational corporation to become number one. For the past 25 years we are in business, 24 years we are profitable. Other than that, we do so without having to bribe people to get projects, to get payment and things like that.
The founder, Dr. Lee, is a good boss. He cultivates integrity, not only in the way how we do business, also in our daily life also.
It's a known fact that Nehemiah Wall is a company which is very God-abiding. So that's something very extraordinary.
This company actually struck me with something very special because they are human-centered, and I think they have a very good code of ethic in terms of conducting the business. So all our clients have a good trust on them because the way they conduct the business is fair and also proper and professional. And they have a good team of technical people, and some of them actually they are the professional engineers themselves.
和 Nehemiah 合作的过程中，他们不但进度快，而且外观也很漂亮。在和他们接触的过程中，感觉他们的公司的管理比较系统化，也比较高水平了，所以得到了我们总包、当地顾问以及甲方的肯定。
I can't do it alone. What we can achieve so far, a lot of it is due to the teamwork. The right people, they're extremely important asset of the company, but the right people must be able to work together.
We are able to overcome job challenges because of a strong teamwork. Many of our staff here are long-serving staff, and we have developed a very strong working relationship that enables us to overcome many obstacles in this industry.
Well, 25 years is actually not a short time. I believe the company has gone through up and down, gone through the recession, and I believe that you all have overcome it very well, resilient, so well done.
Hope they can stay in the market forever because they become one of the quite important leaders in this reinforced wall. Wish them the very best of their business venture in Malaysia and even overseas as well, I guess.
我首先要祝Nehemiah 25周年快乐，也祝贺他们能在未来的发展过程中能做大做强。
My vision for the company is a very big one. Only by God's grace that it can be a reality. And this dream is to become a global player. Firstly, we have to have a superior technology. We have to reinvent. And then we have to work out a way to be able to reach to the far corners of the world, each of these projects all over the world.
I hope that Nehemiah continues to grow and that it will eventually become a torch-bearing company that is a leader in the construction industry.
Thank you.